Hey there, Nicole. So, this is a very interesting question, and it reads as follows. How can I create opportunities to travel more and work internationally as a model? There's a ton of different ways you can do this. Again, it depends on the type of model that you are, because if you're doing this down the runway modeling path, that's going to be very different than if you're doing this as a commercial model. It's going to be very different than if you're doing this as a beauty model. It's just going to be different based on the niche. So, again, if you don't know your niche, the strategy that works for me might not work for you because we have different niches. Now, the broad overview of opportunities of how to work internationally normally fall into these few buckets, right? First is sign to an agency that works in that market and then go to that market for a season and work. That's like the very typical industry way to do it. Most of the models that are from the United States that work out of the country, either their agency in the United States has a sister agency out of the country, or they are assigned to an agency out of the country and they go to that area to work for like a season. A very popular version of this is in South Florida. A lot of the models will go and work in South Africa for 3 to 4 months and come back. Like, do they make oodles of money? They make a good check, but once once taxes are taken out and your agency's fee is taken out, a lot of times they come home with like 40% of what they actually earned. So it's enough to have made money during that time, but it's not necessarily everything that they earned. I'll put it like that. Now, another way to get work and travel internationally is to just literally find and apply to jobs that are outside of your country. Does that take more work? Yeah, because you actually have to do the research. You actually have to reach out to these opportunities. You have to make sure that you have the proper travel materials, whether that be passport or visa. Like, you have to do the work. So if you want to create more opportunities to travel, guess what? You're going to have to create them. So you either get an agency and go to that market and work for a season there. You apply to jobs that are outside of your country. And if you book it, you go. Or you travel outside of your country and you set up shoots during your travels. So what does this look like? This could very much so be like when I go to Mexico and I let people know on different modeling platform sites like, hey, model in Mexico, this area, available shoot dates, blah, 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 blah. And I do the information, right? If a photographer wants to shoot with me, they will literally message me and say, hey, are you available on this day at this time? And I'll say, yep, that date's still available. Let's set up a shoot. And I will shoot out of the country. So those are like the three major ways that you can travel more and, create opportunities for yourself. But again, depending on the type of modeling that you're doing, if you're a runway model, if you go out of the country and there's no fashion show, then you just went out of the country and maybe you got some stills, like some just photos for your portfolio. But unless you're like traveling to New York for New York Fashion Week or Paris for Paris Fashion Week or London for London Fashion Week, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's the strategy that you would use to work out of your country would be different because the style of modeling and the niche of modeling that you're doing is different. Okay. So this is why I'm always telling you guys about your fundamentals because it influences everything else that you do in your career, whether you know it or not. Normally y'all don't. And then y'all try to fight me when I'm just like, oh, this is why it's not working. So hopefully you're not going to fight me, but you take this in stride and you really hone in on what type of modeling you actually do. And then look at those three categories that I gave you, either signing to an agency to work for a season, applying to modeling jobs that are outside of your market, country, etc., or choosing to travel and then just setting up shoots during the dates that you're traveling. Those are your options. Hopefully you find one that fits you best.